Welcome everyone to devlog 2 of my Runescape style clicking game. We have made a ton of progress since the last video. First off, let's take a look at everything. So this is the main menu. We got woodcutting, we've got mining, woodcutting, and mining. And so the GUI is the same between the two. And so one of the biggest updates that I added is now when we click, it's kind of hard to see it, but at the bottom with the 4 dots, those are heads. And so later on, you'll be able to customize the look of your character. And so now you click player 1, chop tree, player 2, chop tree, 3 and 4. And the system that I have right now for the placement will change. I would ideally like players 3 and 4 to be on the right side of the tree. And so this brings us into one of the biggest topics that I have, and that is how this game is going to be structured and what sets it apart from others. And so the idea is that you have a team of 4, kind of like group Ironman in old school RuneScape. You have a team of 4, and each individual player is going to have different levels. And you can assign each player to different nodes, which I'm going to have to fix later and just make a bool for node. So you're going to decide, for example, if you want to focus one character on mining and smithing to make gear for your entire team, you can do that. If you want woodcutting, fletching to make bows and arrows for your entire team, you can do that. And then you have 2 other players that are going to be, for example, killing chickens for feathers to make the arrows. Or one way later in the game will be doing Slayer. And then say you have a team of 4 that you only focus on killing enemies. Later on, there's going to be bosses. So if you want to kill bosses, you apply 4 players to a boss. But to get up to that, you're going to have to make your gear, make your arrows, your bows, fish your food, cook the food, etc. And different bosses will drop different high-level gear. But for now, we have the score on the top, which we had before. Before we had an XP bar, now we have an XP circle. And that's basically just, it consists of 3 circles, which is 2 gray circles and 1 green circle. And so 1 gray and 1 green are the same size. And then percentage and radius change. So it fills up like a pie. So that's how you see in the top right here, you see the bar filling up as the experience goes up. And for right now, the experience rates are incredibly high. We're gonna scale that down later on, but that's something that's not important at all right now. We're not going to worry about that. And for testing as well, we want things to be fast. And so we still have the tools, but mining has different tools. Mining has a different node. And mining also has different experience. If you notice, the experience is going a lot faster because it's a lower level. You can't see the debug from here, but I can. It works. And we have our total score, which we're going to keep that total score, but we may change it to like a total experience kind of a thing. And we make it player based. And so what I want to do in the future is to be able to click the players and bring a bar on the right side up with inventory, stats, etc. And so there's going to have total experience across all players. And then each player is going to have a singular total experience value. So yeah, that has been the updates. Mainly adding vectors for the players, which we'll see in a second. Actually, let's just go through the code right now. So here's the code. This is the main. We got different game screens. Let's see, let's go through what's new. We create the OR from the node class. It's now node, it's not tree anymore because there are different nodes. And then set the dimensions. We have our GUI initializer. And then we have a vector for players. This is a style that I kind of just learned yesterday. Before I would do for like example player 1, and then just do that 4 times. And it's like player 2, player 3, player 4, and then I would just create a vector and then put player, etc. Now we run it through like this, and any instance where we use a player, we're using the vector. The players, etc. This is a quick look at the game states. We're using a switch case style, which I think was present in the previous, maybe. We have the GUI, right? And this is where we're loading a lot of the GUI textures, which I'm actually ran into an issue yesterday as well, where in the player script on the initializer, I was loading the textures and then unloading the textures on the deconstructor. So constructor, deconstructor. And that was causing an issue with memory. For some weird reason, instead of playing the player when I would click a player, it would play the fist thing. And so what I think it is that my hypothesis on why this happens is because I was loading the same texture 4 times, and it was messing with the stack memory, loading all of the textures in different node. I think we're loading the node texture here, yeah. So loading the creating 4 players here. I think when it was all initialized, it was messing with the stack memory, and it was not deciding to play the player texture, player sprite texture. Instead, it was playing the fist texture here. I think that was an issue with stack memory. I still don't fully know. So we just had to change the player sprite to load on main rather than through the class itself when it's initialized. That's why we are loading here. This is something that I may run into in the future, and hopefully then I'll get a more solid understanding. For now, this is a band-aid to the issue because I don't fully know the issue, but we're going to figure out in the future. So back to GUI. So the way we're handling the user interface now is through separate click interactions for different purposes, rather than one click interaction for every click interaction thing. We're now doing separates, and this helps me to kind of like separate out a lot of the functionality, a lot of what needed to be passed through. Like here's the vector of the players in order for player click interaction. That's at the bottom of the screen. Toolbar click interaction, node click interaction. If the player wants to click the node themselves, they can gain experience doing that. It will be faster than if they let the player auto, but it won't be AFK. And that may honestly be something that's not really even in later on. And by separating them out like this for different function purposes, if I ever need to debug or figure out an issue, I can just comment that out and say like the node interaction is broken. I know exactly where to go for that. Or the toolbar is broken. I know exactly where to go for the toolbar. So into the nodes, we don't, oh, here, calculate level. This is our formula for calculating the level right now. I made this 2 weeks ago, so I don't fully remember how it works. If required XP is less than or equal to experience, then previous required experience is required experience. That's just a placeholder value so that we can then calculate the current required experience using this formula, using powers, etc., PEMDAS. And then we're adding temp level. And now if temp level is greater than the temp level, then level is now temp level. So temp level is the placeholder. And then we're getting talent points. And we're not using talent points yet. And then just debug for the console if we level up. And so the player class, this is completely new as well. And so let's go into it. We're not initializing anything minus like the frame count, which we may have to change this later if we're using animations larger than 8 frames. But this is how I'm handling switching the for like the source. I think it's source rec. This is the logic I used to change. Yeah, there we go. Current frame. This is the logic I used to change the current frame to do the animations. And so I added that function into this function so that we only have to call one function on the main script in order to play animations, which I think we actually play it in the GUI. And then draw texture pro using the player sprite, which we are passing through from main now, because loading it up in, like I said earlier, loading it up in the initializer broke it. And the band-aid fix was to load the texture in main. And then set position here just to set for node farming. So I believe that's everything. I don't see anything else here that is new from the previous, but let's take a look back at the game itself. This is what we have. We have window, changing windows. We can apply up to 4 players to farm one node. Also, we can deselect them by the player as well. And then we have the tools. And in the debug, we have equipping a flag to see which tool we click for later. And yeah, I believe that is it. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. See you in the next devlog.